Go ahead and get started with Golden Knights head coach Pete DeBoer. First question for him will go to Ben Goetz with the Las Vegas Review-Journal.
Ben.
Hi, Pete. Obviously, to start, you've put Chandler in between Mark and Max. I was curious, what do you think his speed, does to kind of unlock what those two wings can bring to the ice?
Yeah, it's his best asset, and I feel like wherever you put him, it immediately puts the other team on its heels, which creates some space, for guys like Stoney to handle the puck. And when you give guys like Stoney the puck with some time, they're going to make plays. So that speed creates room for the guys around him, and he does a good job with it.
Next question for Pete today will go to Justin Emerson from Las Vegas Sun.
Justin.
Hi, Pete. We asked you yesterday about Cody Glass and his position that you saw him at, but I'm kind of curious as to your outlook on him, because you didn't get that long to evaluate him from the time you were hired until the time that he was hurt. So I'm curious what you think of him, and maybe how much you feel like you're gonna rely on him this coming season.
Well, you're right. I think I had one game with him before he was rehabbing, came back for a game with us. We didn't feel he was in great game shape yet. Sent him down to Chicago, and he got hurt, I think, the first game down there. So if I'm remembering exactly how it went. So I didn't get to see him much, but what I did get to see was him standing from the other bench in San Jose to start the season, and he looked fantastic that first weekend of the season when we played them. I think he was playing with Stoney and Patch. While I haven't had a lot of time to coach him, I have seen him from the other bench in key situations, and he looked really good a year ago. He's bigger, stronger, faster, more mature than he was a year ago, and I think so far in camp he's looked great.
Next question goes to Jesse Granger of The Athletic.
Yes.
Hey, Pete, two quick ones. Just first, Alex Tuch wasn't out there today. Can you say why?
Just maintenance. First day of camp, a little sore, nothing major, but enough that we don't want to take any chances and push it.
Perfect. And I just want to get your thoughts on Dylan Coghlan, another guy who you haven't seen a lot of, but I'm just wondering, where do you think he is in his career, and what do you think he's ready for?
Yeah, well, he's knocking on the door. I got to know Cogs in the bubble. He was part of our group there, and skating every day. I think that really benefited him. Talking to him, he worked out with Cody Glass in the off season, and really put on a lot of good weight. He's a world-class skater too. With when you're looking for defensemen, with how the game is now being played, big, strong skate, good offensive instincts. There's a lot there to like, so he's knocking on the door.
Next question goes to Ed Graney from the Las Vegas Review-Journal.
Hey, Ed.
Hey, Pete. You've obviously coached great teams in the past, and other than talent, what intangibles make for that, and does this team have that? I guess it's a short way of saying, is it as good as people think it is?
Yeah. Well, I think we're in that group of teams for sure that everybody should be talking about as a Stanley Cup contender. Going from contending to Stanley Cup champion is, a big jump. And the one team that does it every year has to have a lot of things, including intangibles, leadership, chemistry in your dressing room. But you also need, some other things like to stay healthy and to get timely goals and timely saves. Those type of things. So there's a lot that goes into that mix. I love the fact that people are talking about us in that mix. I think we belong in that mix. And it's on us to try and separate ourselves from that group.
Next question for Pete will come from Vince Sapienza with Channel 5 Las Vegas.
Pete, I know we talked about the fitness level yesterday, and the guys today said, while the scrimmages may be a little sloppy, the energy was still high from start to finish. So I guess my question is a two-parter. One, do you see that as well, the energy being as high as it is from start to finish? And how steep is that curve in terms of ramping up this team's intensity even more as you get to next week?
Yeah. You know what? I always point back to the bubble experience because it's almost a mirror of what we're going through now, minus the exhibition game. So I feel our group is in great condition, great shape. They put a ton of work in prior to coming into camp. I think we're seeing that. The sloppiness of any of the play out there, I think, is natural for guys who haven't played in a few months. And as we saw in the bubble experience, I thought we worked our way through that pretty quickly, and got our game in a good place relatively quickly. So, I'm not going to say it's going to be game 1 or 3, but I have great confidence in this group that we're gonna find our game pretty quickly here once we get going.
Do a few more here with Pete today. Next question goes to Ken Bolke with Sinbin.Vegas.
Ken?
Hey, Pete, I'm wondering, when you get players like Tomas Jurko and Dylan Sakura, guys that have NHL experience, like how much do you rely on tape of what they've done in the past? And then how much do you lean on like what you see in camp to decide what they are? Yeah.
A little bit of both, but I would lean towards what I see now. I've seen Sakura play in college, when he was an All-American and lighting it up every night. I've also seen, Jurko from the other bench on the NHL teams he's played on. So, but I think it's critical that every year you give those type of players that have come into your organization after leaving another place a clean slate. And I really try and, in my mind, give those guys that. And I'll be honest with you, I thought Thomas Jurko looked great in the first two days of scrimmages. I thought Sakura's flashed his skill. I thought Brown and Quinney both look like guys that are ready to play and help us at the NHL level, whenever we need them. I see a lot of depth there compared to even when we were in our bubble camp.
Next question for Pete will come from Stormy Bonatoni with the Vegas Golden Knights.
Stormy.
Hey, Pete, just continuing kind of with that theme of the younger players, has there been a prospect player or two who's stood out as maybe an unexpected, pleasant surprise to you for what they've brought?
Good question. I've been really happy with the entire camp, the fitness level of everybody, how engaged they are. I'd be doing a disservice by pointing out one guy because they really all have impressed me with how they've come in and how they've handled the first few days so far. So ask me that again towards the end of camp. I might have a couple specifics for you.
Next question will go to Danny Webster with NHL.com.
Danny.
Hey, Pete, Stormy kind of just stole my question, so I'll kind of narrow it down a little bit to Lucas Elvenes, someone who kind of had a breakout first year in the AHL last year. I'm guessing what you're looking to see from him as camp rolls on.
Yeah, I think Luke and Dugan and all those young pros, they're still young pros, even though they've played in the American League a little bit. Dugan hasn't, but Elvenes has. They're still young pros. You're just looking at them to continue to take steps. For me, it's being able to do what they do well at NHL pace. That's the first step. And it's a lot quicker out there. Guys close on you quicker. All the defensemen can say you're not beating anybody, like you maybe were at a lower level. So, for me, being able to show their game at NHL pace is always the first hurdle for those young guys.
Final question for Pete today goes to David Shane from the Las Vegas Review-Journal.
David.
Hey, Pete, goalie question for you. But what I'm curious about is, I think you mentioned you've never coached when you've had kind of two, I guess, number one goalies like you have this year. What, as a coach, how is the adjustment for that? During the last couple of months, what were you sort of spinning in your head about how that's all gonna, work, having two guys versus, one that you really lean on?
Well, I actually have had a similar situation. My last year in New Jersey, I had Marty Brodeur, who was an older veteran that had taken us to a Stanley Cup final a couple of seasons earlier. And we had traded for Corey Schneider, who was in his prime and at that time was, in my mind, one of the top 10 goalies in the league. So similar situation. We didn't have the benefit of a shortened season, which makes it a lot easier to share the net and play two guys just because of travel and time between games and things like that. So I've had a little bit of experience with it. It takes two special pros to handle it. And I think the circumstances of this year are going to make that easier on everybody.